Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of homeownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Lo-Fi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. Licensed lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island Licensed Lender. License number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Welcome to Sports Talk with RNJ. I am Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio. And the Super Bowl was a blowout. We had a big sign. The Red Sox made a big signing. But before we talk about that, we got to talk about the breaking news. And today, the Jets informed Aaron Rodgers that they are moving on from him. The Aaron Rodgers era was pretty much a disaster for the Jets. First season, he tore his Achilles pretty much 3 or 4 plays into the year. So he got hurt. He got hurt, so he missed the entire season. And this year, he wasn't terrible, but he really regressed as a starting quarterback. He really regressed this year. I mean, the team went 5-12. I know he threw 28 touchdowns. He threw 28 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, but some of that was compiling. There was stat padding games against the Patriots and that last game against the Dolphins where he had 4 touchdown passes. Also, his other 2 great games he had were against the Titans and the Jaguars. So, but the big thing with this year with Rodgers, though, 5 times he had the ball in his hands with a chance to win for the Jets to win or tie the game, and he couldn't get the job done. The Denver game, I know the field goal kicker missed the field goal, but come on, they scored 9 points in that game. The Minnesota game has Garrett Wilson wide open, overthrows him, and was outplayed by Sam Darnold in that game. The Buffalo game throws a pick at the end. The Patriot game had the ball in his hands, couldn't get it done, and then the Seattle game, Jets are up 21-7 in that game, and he throws a pick 6 to Leonard Williams. So. I think this is a move. The Jets I think this is a good move for the Jets. They're moving forward. They're rebuilding. Yeah, they're not going to be good next year, but they're rebuilding this new era with Darren Mucci and Aaron Glenn. They're moving. They're moving forward. They're rebuilding. So I like this move for the Jets. I do. And this was really disappointing though. This whole Aaron Rodgers year for the Jets was a major disappointment.
Yeah, it couldn't have gone worse for him. Obviously, 2 years ago, when he tore the Achilles, there's not much you can do there. That offensive line was horrible, and and then this year, like you can argue that Pat McAfee got more out of him than the Jets did. Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Which is sad, but the Jets finally thought they had their guy. But yeah, this year, he put up some numbers, but as you mentioned, some of them were just, it was. There's some games where, it was definitely stat padding this year from him, and he definitely did not look like the same guy we're used to. But that's what happens. You turn 40 years old, and again, Father Time's caught up with everybody besides Tom Brady, and I guess you could say LeBron James. That's about it. So that's the problem, and so I think for the Jets, unfortunately, now the question is, what do they do for quarterback next year? That's a big. I know they drafted Jordan Travis last year, but I don't think he's the answer. And I know you have Tyrod Taylor still, but he's a good backup. I don't think you can rely on 17 games. So it'll be interesting there. But it was an absolute disaster for the Jets. And that it was the most Jets things possible. It was just this Aaron Rodgers thing turned out to be a total disaster.
Exactly. We had a comment from Frank. Bye-bye. He needs to retire. And we'll get to where his best landing spots are first. But we'll start with the Jets, and we'll start with what the Jets should do moving forward. And I don't think it's to draft somebody. because I don't think either of these two quarterbacks are worth trading up for. So it's not to draft somebody. I think it's to sign a free agent. I think it's to sign a free agent, because even trading someone, you don't want, like, for example, Matthew Stafford, as there have been rumors about him being on the trade market. I don't think you want to trade for him either, because you don't want to give up something. You're in a rebuild right now. So I think what you do is you sign a bridge guy. You sign a bridge guy. You sign a Justin Fields. You sign a Russell Wilson if he's available. You sign even a Jameis Winston. You sign a bridge guy, or even a Kirk Cousins. You sign a bridge guy. Yes, but he's going to command a lot of money. He's going to it's going to command over $30 million, and I think that ship sailed. Though they already had him. That I know Sam Darnold's probably the best. He's the best rookie. He's the best free agent quarterback. He's definitely the best free agent quarterback out there. But I think it's one of these four guys. I think it's Cousins. I think it's Fields, Winston, or Cousins. I think you sign one of those four guys. It's just gonna be a bridge year for them. They're probably gonna be another four. It's gonna be another 4 or 5 win season, and then you put yourself in position. You lock up Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner, because those are your two franchise players. And I know there's issues with Garrett Wilson wanting out and stuff, but I think you try to lock him up. You try to lock up Sauce Gardner, and I think it's a rebuilding year. So you lock your two best players. It's a rebuild, and you'll probably be picking in the top 10 next year. So I like the move. I like that there's a plan going forward. They were clear. They were concise with this. They're going to have to take a cap hit, but they were clear and they were concise. And there's a plan moving forward. And their plan is to move out from Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, it's probably for the best for the Jets, definitely, to go get a bridge guy, because I'm with you. Not high in either two quarterbacks. Jackson Dart's still there in the second round. I would take a shot.
That's a good one. That's what I didn't mention. Were the two Milroy and Dart. Those were the two ones. They could very easily take, sign a veteran, sign one of the 4 veterans I mentioned, and draft a guy in the second round.
Yeah, I could see like a Jackson Dart turn out to maybe be the best out of the guys right now that coming out. Maybe take a flyer on him. But yeah, one of the bridge guys like a Fields, maybe a Russell Wilson. Yeah, one of those guys could work, and then hopefully next year's draft class for the quarterbacks looks better, and you're probably in the top 10, and you could take one of them next year. So yeah, for this team, can that defense be fixed now with Aaron Glenn? Because there's still a lot of talent there, and that team 2 years ago won 7 games with Zach Wilson as quarterback. So as long as they get decent quarterback play with that defense still, and the offensive line's improved, yeah, maybe they can find a way to win 6-7 games. Division, you expect the Patriots to be better.
You expect
the Dolphins
will be average. Bills will be
they'll be 8. Yeah, like a 7-8 win team, you think. And then the Bills. So you're not like an easy game, in that division. So it could be tough, but for the Jets to try to get third, but maybe that defense is possible. They could steal a game or two, but yeah, for the Jets, it's best to part ways from them.
Yeah, it is, and yeah, if you look at them going into next year, yeah, their defense will be better, but the issue is going to be the quarterback's not going to be that good. The offensive line's still going to be shaky. Yes, I think they'll be a better team, but still, it's not going to be a contending team. And right now, it's clear that they are in a rebuild. We got another comment.
Yeah, Frank's not high in the Dolphins there.
Yeah, Dolphins are going to suck, and I think you're right about that, Frank. Things are falling apart in Miami. Things are really falling apart in Miami. With Tyreek Hill wanting out, then saying he wants back in. The quarterback, that's good, but he has trouble staying healthy, and they paid him $53 million a year. So yes, things are not looking up in Miami. Frank is definitely right about that. But moving on to the Aaron Rodgers piece of this, what are the best destinations for him next year? What are the best destinations for Aaron Rodgers? And for me, number one, I'm gonna go with the Raiders here. I'm gonna go with the Raiders. I know the Steelers have a better chance of competing, but I think there could be some toxicity there with Tomlin and Rodgers. I think there could be. I don't know how things are going to go with the two of them. So and Arthur Smith too, because you heard rumors this year that Arthur Smith and Russell Wilson were getting along at the end. So I think it's going to be the Raiders. You got Pete Carroll in that building, so they'll be pretty good defensively. It's not like they're going to be good, but this is kind of like a bridge guy they could have for 1 to 2 years to build their team or to build their team and then get their franchise guy when they need to. But yeah, I think the Raiders is probably going to be the best destination for him. I guess number one. Number two, and there's no great destination right now in his career, because at this point in his career, he's really a bridge quarterback. He's not a top 15 quarterback anymore. He's not a terrible quarterback. He's an above average quarterback at best at this point in his career. I don't think you can't win a Super Bowl with him, but he's still a guy who could still give you a performance at the quarterback position. That's what I think he could do. Number 2 for me, I got to say the Steelers, because they have 2 of their quarterbacks free agents. They're going to move on from Russell Wilson. Justin Fields, he's going to be a free agent as well. So I think the Steelers are definitely this is the best chance he has to win. It's obviously the Steelers, because their roster is not great but pretty good. Obviously, they have a top. I mean, I wouldn't. I lost a little bit of respect for him this year, but it's still a top coach in Mike Tomlin. So I think the Steelers are definitely. I would say they would be the second option for me. I think they would be the second option, and then third, a little bit of a wild card here. I'm going to go with the Titans, because they might not like this quarterback class. Again, just like the Raiders, they might want a bridge guy to build their team first and then get a quarterback. So I would say the Titans. So my 3 teams are the Raiders, the Steelers, and the Titans.
Yeah, for me, I get 2 similar. I got number 1 as well are the Raiders. They do need somebody to center. They do have talent on offense. Brock Bowers has had a tremendous rookie year. I know the offensive line still needs some work, but Pete Carroll's kind of one where he's gone. He's dealt with that ego and Russell Wilson before in Seattle, so he kind of dealt with that. So, and maybe Rodgers, Rodgers and Brady, I assume are friends. Maybe Brady brings them in, so I could see them working out for the Raiders. That's again totally tough division there. Number 2, I have the Steelers as well. Yeah, Mike Tomlin. They just dealt with Russell Wilson. Do you really want to go through that again? Rodgers definitely has more left in the tank than I think Russell Wilson does. It's a Division 2 where you're gonna have to go up against Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. So you're gonna have to put up some points. I don't know if Rodgers made many shootouts against us. Well, I guess maybe the Bengals, because the Bengals can't stop anybody. But I could see the Steelers being a spot too where Tomlin, and Rodgers, maybe Rodgers can get over the hump, or maybe get to an AFC division, or win a playoff game in Pittsburgh. And then lastly, I have him following the Brett Favre route, going to Minnesota. If
That's an interesting one. It's an interesting one there.
Yeah, if JJ McCarthy's still recovering from the multiple knee surgery that he's been dealing with, if he's not ready, or even just give him another year, because probably didn't practice much last year. If you want him just to get another year, just to get healthy here, I would assume Rodgers too would probably love to get back at the Packers too and get to play them twice.
Right.
So
Oh yeah. Yep.
I could see it if the Vikings don't think that McCarthy's ready, and also the Vikings out of those 3 are probably in the best situation to go compete now. So I could see it if the Vikings really want to try to go in the Super Bowl now, give McCarthy another year. They try Rodgers for one season.
Very interesting one with the Vikings. Yeah, they're the team that's in the best position to compete now. They won 14 games last year. They got a good defense, great defensive coordinator, and Brian Flores, who's coming back. You have a really good coach in Kevin O'Connell, good offensive coach in Kevin O'Connell. That would be very interesting. That's a good one. Seeing that McCarthy, is still recovering, could still be recovering from knee surgery. I didn't put it on the list because I think McCarthy is going to be ready. But it's a very interesting with the Vikings. Yeah, imagine that: Packers, Jets, Vikings. That'll be very interesting.
Yeah, just like Brett Favre.
Just like Brett Favre, yeah.
Brett.
And look at the year Brett Favre had. Brett Favre actually had a really good year with the Vikings. No, his second year was terrible. But his first year with the Vikings, that 2009 season, he was this close to getting to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they were. So maybe Rodgers, the one that broke a lot of hearts in Minnesota for so many years, could bring back the glory days, or give him a Super Bowl if they're in Minnesota. So I could definitely see it again. It all depends on how McCarthy is, because I know McCarthy's a franchise guy, but if he's not healthy yet, they don't think he's be ready. And you would think too at this stage, Rodgers would probably be more willing to be a mentor too to McCarthy. Like, even if he's I think he would. I know he wasn't the love, but I think there's some spite there from Rodgers. But now I think he probably would, knowing he'd probably be there a year. McCarthy takes over after him, so maybe there could be he'd be more comfortable doing that now too.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see where Aaron Rodgers lands, or where he goes, and the Jets. We'll see what they do, but it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But we got to move on to the Super Bowl, and we got to recap that. And the Eagles, for the second time in 8 years, win the Super Bowl, beating the Chiefs. The score was not even indicative to the way that game was played. The score was 40-22, but it was it was much worse than that. I mean, the way the Eagles just flat out dominated, especially on the defensive line. Their defensive line was ridiculous against Mahomes. Jalen Hurts had a really good game. He had a really good game too. But the Eagles were just dominant in this game, the best roster in football, and they didn't even need that good of a game from Saquon to win the game. They didn't. I mean, the defense was just really, really good. The Hurts played really well. Those last 2 games, Hurts looked really good for the Eagles. So the Eagles win their 2nd Super Bowl in 8 years, beating the Chiefs. And Justin, your thoughts on Super Bowl 59?
Yeah, that was a ugly performance. You told me Barkley probably wasn't even going to rush for 60 yards,
Oh,
and
I would think the Chiefs. I thought the Chiefs would win.
yeah, yeah, I would think so too. And Jalen Hurts had a really good day with his legs too. He had 72 yards on the ground. He had a really good game through the air. And yeah, you mentioned it. Just like a couple years ago when the Chiefs faced Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs offensive line had no answers, and Patrick Mahomes looked absolutely he looked awful there. And Sunday. They made him look uncomfortable all night, and they just had no answers for him. And yeah, you're exactly right on that score. It was 40-0, and the Chiefs finally kind of took a couple shots on the field and hit a couple big ones. So yeah, that score definitely was worse than what the final score indicates.
It definitely was. It definitely was. And now we'll get to why the Eagles won the game. We'll first get to why the Eagles won the game. And number one, their defense was awesome on 3rd down. Their defense was awesome on 3rd down. The Chiefs did not convert a 3rd down until the score was 34-0 in the 3rd quarter. They did not convert. I think they had 1 first down till that point too. They had like 1 first down until late in the 3rd quarter. But the 3rd down defense for the Eagles was outstanding, just getting pressure on Mahomes all night long. Number 2, Jalen Hurts played a really good game. Outside of that interception he had, I'll give him that. Played a really good game. When they blitzed them early on, he hit Dotson down the sidelines. Hit A.J. Brown that third down, which led to a field goal. Then when they were up 24-0, led them down the field and pretty much and led them to a field goal. Then he pretty much put the game away when they threw that deep ball to Devontae Smith, that deep touchdown pass to Devontae Smith. So Jalen Hurts had a really good game. And I thought was deserving of the MVP. So he played really well. And then the most important reason why the Eagles won the game, their pass rush was ridiculous. And they didn't blitz at all. They pretty much just rushed 4, played zone, they rushed 4, had 7 guys back in coverage, played zone, and they harassed Mahomes all night long. I've never seen Mahomes look that, as you said earlier, we've never seen Mahomes look that uncomfortable in a game. And that is the biggest reason why that pass rush was ridiculous in that game.
I actually have the same 3 points as you there. And my number one was the pass rush. That you mentioned they only brought 4 guys all night, and it seemed like they brought 8. Like just the amount of time it took them to get the Mahomes to get in that backfield with the saying. And Josh Sweat had a real case there to win MVP for the Super Bowl. He's phenomenal. He's 2.5 sacks in the game, a couple tackles for a loss. He was unbelievable, and he forced one of the second interception there, Mahomes in the end zone, because he backed that tackle into Mahomes there. The other one was Jalen Hurts. He played a phenomenal game. He picked up he had 11 carries for 72 yards, and and I think he was able to do that too because the Chiefs, of course, were kind of looking for Barkley more, and we're keen on Barkley, and that gave Hurts a couple holes there and a couple opportunities. He picked up some big ones in that game too for first downs, and he threw the ball really well in the game as well. The Eagles kind of did whatever they wanted offensively, and then my final one was the 3rd down defense. And Chiefs in the game were 3-11. You mentioned it. It took them to late in the 3rd quarter. They're down 34-0 to finally convert on a 3rd down there. And the Chiefs are usually so good converting on 3rd downs, and they're usually in good situations, 3rd and shorts, and they just had none of it. And it was ugly. The Eagles defense was phenomenal, and Fangio had an unbelievable game plan there. And I know they have a ton of talent, but to make Mahomes look as bad as he is very impressive.
Really, really impressive for the Eagles. Their defense was outstanding. But the MVP of the game was Jalen Hurts. And the big question with Hurts is, he wasn't good the first 2 games. I wouldn't say he wasn't good. He wasn't great in the first 2 playoff games, but those last 2, he played really, really well. He's now been to 2 Super Bowls, played great in both Super Bowls, won a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP. The big question is Jalen Hurts an elite quarterback? And I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. I think he's a very good quarterback, but I'm not going to put him on. I obviously don't put him with Mahomes. I'm not putting him on the same level as Josh Allen or Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson. I think Jane Daniels is better than him too. So I'm going to say no. I think he's a very good quarterback, but and he won a Super Bowl, but he did win a Super Bowl with the best roster in football. Okay, and this is not hating on him or anything. I think he's a very good quarterback. I think he's worth the money that the Eagles paid him 2 years ago. I think he's a very, very good quarterback, but I'm going to say no. I do not think he's an elite quarterback, because if you're an elite quarterback, you got to make like a big comeback in a playoff game. Where's Jalen Hurts' big comeback in a playoff? You've seen all the playoff games he's won. Yes, all right. He didn't get a chance in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. I'll say that. But most of the playoff games he's won, like the playoff game against the Giants 2 years ago, they dominated. They won 38-7. The playoff win against the Niners, they dominated. They won 31-7. Then you had the playoff game against the Packers. They won 22-10. The playoff game against the Rams, yeah, that was a close win, but Saquon Barkley was amazing. He was phenomenal in that game. He was outstanding. And you could argue if it wasn't for Saquon Barkley, he might not get past the Rams. And then the game against Washington, yes, he played really well, but they won the game by 30 points. I'm going to say no. Right now, I'm going to say no. But I would probably say he is like the sixth best quarterback in the league. I would say he's the sixth best quarterback in the league behind Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, Burrow, and Daniels. I put him as the sixth best quarterback in the league, but I would not say he's an elite quarterback.
I do have him number 5.
You haven't had
right
a Jaden
now,
Daniels?
Yeah, just a little bit. I've always liked Jalen Hurts, and I always loved the adversity that he kind of fought through at Alabama there when he got pulled and Tua comes in for him. But then he comes back the next year and is the savior in that national championship game where they're losing. And he's been somebody that's always kind of been, and then he transfers to Oklahoma, wins a Heisman under Lincoln Riley, and then he gets drafted, and they're not everybody, but people are like, oh, that's not a great pick. He don't think he's a franchise quarterback, and he's turned in now to. And I know his roster is very good around him, but he's a really good he's a good runner. And I know the roster is good, but after the 2-2 started was the Eagles this year, they won 16 of the last 17 games, and that one loss was to the Commanders, and he got knocked out of that game with concussion in the first quarter. Like all he does is win, and and I think there's a lot to that, and I've always liked how he's battled the adversity, and I thought he played, outside the interception, I thought he played a really good game, on Sunday night, and maybe he's not there yet with Mahomes or out because he doesn't have to put up those type of numbers, and he hasn't had to, and the offense seems like it fits him, and having Barkley in the backfield this year really seemed to help him out. So, I'd put him right now number 5 of the quarterbacks right now in the NFL.
I put Daniels ahead of him because what Daniels did this year with the Commanders was flat out amazing. 5 come from behind wins. Led a team that hadn't been to the conference championship game in over 30 years to the conference title game. So I would put him in that. I would put him ahead of. I put him below Jaden Daniels right now. But here's the thing with Hurts though. You saw last year though when the team wasn't as good and they were 10-1. They collapsed with him as their starting quarterback. I know he was hurt at times last year. He was hurt during that run, but they collapsed with him as their starting quarterback. And when the defense wasn't playing well last year, he really couldn't overcome. Now, there's a lot of things I like about Jalen Hurts. Great leader. He's really humble guy. Great leader. He's mobile. He makes good decisions. I question his pocket passing a little bit. It's kind of similar. It's kind of similar to what Russell Wilson was at the beginning in Seattle. He's a little bit similar to what Russell Wilson was when the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. Good quarterback, but not an elite quarterback.
Yeah. No, and I get that, because last year you struggled, and that entire team struggled. I don't know what happened there. It just everything fell apart, and they were able to regain it, and Sirianni deserves a ton of credit for that. I think this year too, he went through 5 interceptions. Like he really cut down in his interception total because, yes, last year in spots there was a couple games last year where he did throw an interception in a late spot. It kind of cost him, but I thought this year he did a much better job, and I don't know if he could be better in the pocket. I think he's gotten a little bit better over time, and I think he's developed, I think it's helped. Dallas Goedert too is a really solid tight end, so he's got there's a lot of talent there, and I do think this year he got better because last year, I you know that run toward the end of the year was abysmal and how they fell apart. So I'd still put him up there. I just because too. I know Allen hasn't won it yet, Lamar or even Burrow's gone there, but like there's not too many quarterbacks right now that do have that ring, or they're older, like a Russell Wilson or like a Matthew Stafford. Like there's not many guys that have gotten that ring right now. So that's also why I have them up there in top 5 as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Yeah, I think, yeah, I can see how he's top 5. It's close for me between him and Daniels. I just think Daniels has done more, but still, a really, really great job for Jalen Hurts. He did an outstanding job this year, and he's got a Super Bowl ring. He's got a Super Bowl ring, and yeah, guys, and you could say more than what he has more rings than Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, but I do think those guys are better quarterbacks because if they were put those 3 quarterbacks in the Eagles, I think they're winning the Super Bowl because those teams, those quarterbacks have not had even Lamar Jackson has not had as good of a team as Jalen Hurts had around him in Philadelphia this year. Now, moving on to the coach, what does this do for Nick Sirianni's legacy? What does this? Not legacy. What does this do for Nick Sirianni right now? And I think this is going to make him this is going to get him over $10 million a year. He's going to be one of the highest paid coaches because I think they're going to extend him in the next couple of weeks. And yes, I think we both have mocked him. The press conferences, the yelling at fans. But you got to admit, he's a really good coach. He got to a Super Bowl 2 of the first 4 years. He got to a Super Bowl, and yeah, you can talk about how great Howie Roseman is, and yes, he is the best GM in football, no question about it. There's no question Howie Roseman's the best GM in football, but you got to give Nick Sirianni credit. I mean, 2 Super Bowls in 4 years. That's really, really good. And the 2 other years, too, is the Eagles made the playoffs. I mean, his first year, the Eagles weren't expected to be that good. He made the playoffs. Even last year, yeah, you want to talk about how disappointing last year was. It was more the ending was disappointing. They started 10-1 last year, and they beat the Chiefs last year in Kansas City. So I think he's a top 10 coach in the league. Got the team to the Super Bowl 2 of his first 4 seasons. And I think he's going to get a big con. He's going to get an extension. It's well deserved.
Absolutely, it is. And after the way they lost to Atlanta on that Monday night, the way and I kind of criticized him with the way he was acting and running up and down the sidelines, like he acts like he's like a 5-year-old kid at times, and I think he's gotten better that little bit of that. But they get destroyed again week 4 of the Bucks, just like they did last year in the wild card round, and they have the early bye in week 5, and whatever happened that bye week, things really turned around for them, and they played awesome the rest of the year. Again, when we're talking about Hurts, like the one loss was a 3-point game against Washington, and Jalen Hurts, played got knocked out of the game in the first quarter. They played really well down the stretch. I know the Packer game and the Rams game wasn't pretty, but to put up 55 in the NFC Championship game and then to do what they did against Kansas City is really impressive. So, yeah, he's one of the few left that's not like an offensive or defensive specialist, he's more of kind of the CEO type of head coach, and there's not too many left of those type of guys. So, yeah, the press conference, the some of the antics that he has, screaming with the fans is never a great look. But yeah, it's well deserved, and there's not too many coaches either that have a ring left. So, for him, yeah, he deserves the contract extension he's going to get, and yeah, I agree, he's probably going to get up to at least $10 million. With the extension.
Yeah, I can see that happen. I definitely see that happen. I can see Sirianni getting up to 10 million. Now, even though Saquon didn't have that good of a game didn't have a great. I think seeing his blitz, seeing how he picked up blitzes at times, seeing the attention he garnered. I think he still was a huge factor in the Super Bowl. Seeing he didn't have a great game in the Super Bowl, but the season for Saquon could not have been better. I mean, he rushed for over 2,000 yards, was this close to breaking Eric Dickerson's single season record. He has now the single season record for rushing yards for postseason and regular season. I think it is the best running back season of all time. The big question is this the best free agent signing of all time? And I'm gonna say no. I think Drew Brees. I think Drew Brees is the best. I think his free agent signing was the best because it was a quarterback and it led to a Super Bowl. Reggie White's up there. Reggie White I think is number 2. But it was right when free agency began. I think he's right up there too. And that led to a Super Bowl. Brady and Peyton I think are better. And then I would say Deion Sanders is better too. So it's in the top 10. I think it's in the top 10. I would say outside of Drew Brees, outside of Peyton going to the Colts, signing with the Broncos, Brady signing with the Bucks, outside of Reggie White signing with the Packers, and then outside of Deion signing with the Cowboys, I'm gonna go with this as a top 10 free agent signing. Now I don't think it's the best free agent signing of all time because it didn't move the needle. Yes, as much as Brady signing with the Bucks did. It didn't move the needle as Brees signing in New Orleans did, or move the needle like or Peyton signing with the Colts did. I mean, Brees signing with the Saints turned the franchise around. It made them a average to below average franchise and made them one of the top organizations in the league for 10 to 15 years. Brady signing with the Bucks. You saw what that did to both franchises. The Patriots were one of the greatest teams for 20 years, and they flipped to 7-9. The Bucks hadn't won a playoff game since they won their last Super Bowl, and they won the Super Bowl. You saw what happened with Peyton signing with the Broncos. They were kind of an average team with Tebow. They became an instant Super Bowl contender with Peyton Manning. And so I'd say it's in the top 5. And you could argue it's close with the Deion thing. That Deion signing with the Cowboys is close, but I'd think it's in the top 10, top 5. But I wouldn't say it's the best free agent signing of all time. To me, it's Drew Brees signing with the Saints. But it was a great signing, even though to me it's not the best free agent signing of all time.
No, and I agree, and I think you summed it up really well because we don't know how the Barkley tenure is going to end in Philly. Like, he's probably not going to, like, can he rush for more yards next year than he did this year? Like, that's probably pretty tough to do. I know that roster's, still going to be really talented, but I don't, like, I don't. You hate to wish for, I'm not wishing for any injuries or anything like that, but like he has been banged up over his career. Maybe next year he's only plays in 8-9 games. Maybe the year after that he's banged up again. Like, so yeah, so I think it's, maybe by the time he's done in Philly, especially if they win the Super Bowl too, it does turn into the best free agent signing of all time. But right now, yeah, because the book's just not closed on him, and we're running back too. Again, the injuries could always kind of pop up, and maybe he misses a couple games that could affect him too down the line. So it was a really great signing for Philly, and it is definitely one of the 10 best all time. And maybe it's number 1 by the time it's all said and done when he's up in Philly. But yeah, he's still got some. There's still some work there to be done till you can move out to number 1.
I think it'd be hard for it to be number 1. I think number 1 to me is always going to be Drew Brees, but I think it could pass if the Eagles win another Super Bowl. It could, and he is a big part of it, like he was this year. It could pass Brady in Tampa. It could pass Peyton with the Broncos. It definitely could pass Deion with the Cowboys. It definitely could pass those 4. But it's going to be hard for me to have it number 1. I think Brees is going to always be number 1 for me because he changed that franchise in New Orleans. So for me, Brees going to New Orleans is always going to be number 1 for me. But it very easily could be 2. It very easily could be 2 if Saquon continues to play the way he has.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, because I forgot how bad the Saints were for him, and for pretty much their entire history, they were bad, and it was amazing to see what he did. But yeah, like if he runs up if Berkeley goes for another Super Bowl there, and he rushes for over 2,000 yards for another couple years, and yeah, it could easily be number 2. Because yeah, he already joined a really good roster, and he's a huge, big piece of kind of helping him get over the top, and really getting that running game going, and I think it took a lot of pressure off of Jalen Hurts this year. So yeah, it was a phenomenal year, and yeah, definitely could get the number 2 and all time of free agent signings. Because yeah, he's on a great team now, and he was able to kind of. I don't want to throw this back at the Giants, but like we were able to really kind of find how great of a back he was this season.
Yeah, absolutely. You saw the Giant organization completely held him back with bad offensive lines around him, average to below quarterback play around him, really never having a number 1 receiver behind him. Yes, you could definitely put this on the Giants for what was put around Saquon Barkley. Now, I'll always say it was not the right pick for the Giants to take him when they took him, but it doesn't mean how great of a player that he is. I mean, he proved this year that he's a Hall of Fame. He's a Hall of Famer. And a great person too. He proved the kind of person and player he always was a great person, but he definitely proved how great of a player he was this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's always seemed like a great guy, and yeah, the stuff that happened with Giants, I know it's unfortunate. I know that had to be tough Sunday night. To watch that game and the way the Eagles dominated, but yeah, the Eagles really were definitely able to unleash his talents this year, and yeah, the Giants again, like he's lived up to the number 2 pick the season he had, but yeah, New York, it was never gonna happen. Like even if you did resign him at this point, I know you probably wish you got something for him, but like he probably only got you maybe another win or two. Like it's the Giants really messed it up, and um, and that's again it's just another big giant, big red flag on Joe Shane's head. The way that ended.
It absolutely is, and we are all probably surprised that Joe Jane still has a job as a general manager in the league. But now moving on to the Colts, moving on to the Chiefs and Mahomes, and the big question is, what does a game like this do for his legacy? Because he was absolutely terrible on Sunday. Outside of the pass rush of the Eagles and the offensive line not being able to protect him, he was terrible. Those 2 picks he threw, I think this was the worst game of his career. Those 2 picks he threw were terrible interceptions. The pick to DeGene on 3rd down, and then you had the pick to pick Zach Bond had, and he did not get, again. He went pretty much till late. They went until like the middle, the late in the 3rd quarter until they crossed the 50-yard line. He missed Hopkins wide open, which could have led to a field goal. I think this was one of the worst games of his career. Brady's lost big games. Brady has lost big games. The 2 Super Bowls against the Giants and the Super Bowl against the Eagles. But in the Super Bowl against the Eagles, he was outstanding in the game. Bill Belichick screwed that up benching Malcolm Butler. That wasn't on Brady. That was on Belichick. Maybe at the end it might have been on Brady for turning the ball over, but that was mostly on Belichick. And then the 2 Super Bowls against the Giants, he wasn't terrible in those games. And I know, and don't tell me about the offensive line. The Patriots had trouble protecting him in both those games, and Brady led them down. I know they only scored 7 points for most of the day, but he led them down the field. He did his job at the end. But the defense didn't do their job at the end of the game. And the second Super Bowl against the Giants, he completed 16 consecutive passes in that game. So Brady, even in games he lost, didn't even look anywhere near as bad as Mahomes looked. So I think the big thing to take away from this is Mahomes has got a long, long way to go to get to Tom Brady. Tom Brady still has the clear edge on him right now. 7 rings to 3 rings. Tom Brady still has a clear edge on him because Tom Brady never looked this bad in a big game.
I'm glad you said all that because that's what my point was yeah, he's not I don't want to hear him in the same discussion with Brady for a while. This was from Bill Barnwell. This is at halftime. He had the 3rd worst passing rating in a first half of any quarterback this year. Bo Nix versus the Chargers, in week 6, he had a 0. Trevor Lawrence versus the Eagles in week 9, he had 8.3, and Patrick Mahomes versus the Eagles, 10.7. So he had the 3rd worst QBR for the first half this year, and also in Super Bowl stats. Tom Brady had 21 touchdowns, 6 INTs in the Super Bowl. Mahomes has 8 touchdowns and already 7 INTs. So he's already thrown more interceptions than Brady did in 10 Super Bowl games. And yeah, you mentioned Brady, and Brady could not move. And Brady in those games with the Giants did not have happy feet like Mahomes did. Mahomes felt the rush even when it wasn't there, and he was off platform all night, and you could see it from after those first couple sacks. And yeah, I think he missed Kelsey too on a big 3rd down. I think it was the first or second drive of the game.
I think it was the first drive of the game. Missed Kelsey on a 3rd down.
Yeah, maybe they get going if he connects on Kelsey there. Yeah, he was uncomfortable all night, and yeah, Brady never got blown out in a game like that. So, look, Mahomes is a great quarterback. I'll say that, but yeah, he's nowhere near Tom Brady right now, and he's got a long way to go to get there. So I'm glad we're on the same page on that one. So, congrats on what they've done the last couple of years, but he's got a long way to go. And I'd even say Montana's still better than Mahomes as well.
That's debatable. I think it's debatable. But you got a point because Montana did win 4 Super Bowls, and Montana has 4, and Mahomes only has 3. But I think Montana only has. I think it's 3 MVPs as well. I'm pretty sure he has 3 MVPs because Rice. I think he won the first 2. He was the MVP. So he has 3 MVPs. You could argue that. You could make the argument. I think Mahomes is better, but you can make the argument about Montana too. But let's say something. He's closer to Montana than he is to Brady. And let's not forget another thing about Brady. He's beaten him twice with two, not just with one system, with two teams, with two different teams. He's beaten Mahomes twice in the playoffs. So, and that's the other thing. Mahomes has never left Andy Reid. Tom Brady left Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. Guess what he did that first year? He won a championship. So, there's no argument right now. Brady is still clearly better than Mahomes. And Sunday night helped prove that. It definitely helped prove that. Now, speaking of one of Mahomes' weapons, Travis Kelce, the big question is, was this his last game? I think it is. I think he's getting old. I think he's getting worn down. I think he might retire. I think he might, honestly. A lot of people say he won't because he lost the game and everything. I think he retires. I think he does after this game. He's obviously not retired yet, but I think he retires.
Yeah, I'm with you too. You could just tell he looked slower. He wasn't like dominant in the regular season. I know his number. He 97 catches. I think 800, 900 yards, something like that. A couple touchdowns, but there wasn't too many games where like he really exploded this year offensively. And again, he's got all what he can do in retirement all set up for him. He already does his podcast with his brother. Fox or CBS or ESPN will hire him to do pre or post or something like that. Like he's already got that all planned out. I think he hosts like Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? He's dating one of the biggest celebrities in the world who, she's one of the richest people in the world. So he's got the post playing career stuff all kind of already there for him. So I think this is it. He just doesn't look the same. And man, he just looks so slow too out there. Do the Chiefs even want him back? I know they probably would take him, but he's not a difference maker anymore. And he got killed while he was trying to block too. That's another thing. Gronk will always be better than him too. At least Gronk blocked. He can't block it. They were trying 1v1 on Josh Wood a couple times and got beat badly.
To me, that conversation with Gronk, Kelce, and Tony Gonzalez, Gronk and Kelce, yes. If Gronk was more durable, I would say definitely say yes, but durability with Gronk, I make that debatable, but that's another conversation for another day. Who the greatest tight end of all time is? I know you're all this Gronk. You probably have this thought process. Belichick's clearly better than Reid. Yeah. Obviously, Brady's clearly better than Mahomes, and Gronk's clearly better than Kelce. You probably have that game probably made you think all those things.
Yep. Oh, it definitely did. I know it's probably tough for you to see that, but I was thoroughly enjoying the 40-000 blow. I was enjoying myself, and then being with Raider fans too, they were enjoying.
They must have been. That probably felt like a Raider win, seeing the Chiefs get blown out like that.
Yeah. Oh, it was. It was a fun night. It was a very fun night.
It must have been a very fun. Yeah, it must have been a very fun night. But yeah, for Travis Kelce, I think this is it. I think he retires after this game. But the last thing we'll do before we wrap up at the Super Bowl is, which one of these two teams, the Eagles or Chiefs? Obviously, the Chiefs have been to the Super Bowl 5 of the last 6 years. The Eagles have been to the Super Bowl 2 of the last 3 years. Which one of these two teams do we think has a better chance to be in this spot next year? And the answer might surprise you on this one. I'm going to say the Eagles. I'm going to say the Eagles because, number one, the loser of the Super Bowl has a very, very hard time of getting back. Since in the last 30 years, there's only been one team that has lost the Super Bowl and even returned to the Super Bowl the next year, and that was the Patriots in 2018. They very easily didn't because they would have lost if Dee Ford wasn't offside. So the 2018 Patriots were the only team in the last 30 years that has lost a Super Bowl and gotten back to a Super Bowl the next year. Because remember, when the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl to the Bucs, they didn't. That was then this 6-year stretch. That was the 1 year they didn't make it because they lost to the Bengals in the AFC Championship game. So I'm going to go with the Eagles because really outside of Zach Bond and Josh Sweat, pretty much this whole team is coming back next year. Barkley will be back. This whole line will be back. Jalen Hurts will obviously be there. The defense will still be really good. Vic Fangio is staying, which is big, especially for the defense. Because remember, when the Eagles lost the Super Bowl 2 years ago, both their coordinators left. Steichen left to become the coach of the Colts, and Gannon left to become the coach of the Cardinals. Now, Kellen Moore is gone, but it looks like the Eagles will promote from within. But I think with the roster the Eagles have, they have a good quarterback. They're just and the way they dominated in the conference championship and the Super Bowl, I think that the Eagles have a better chance than the Chiefs because I think next year, because as we talked about, Travis Kelce could be gone. Xavier Worthy is has looked good at times, but he's unproven. Hollywood Brown, he's pretty much, he's good, not great. And DeAndre Hopkins, his best days are behind him. So you're looking at the skill guys, looking at the offensive line of the Chiefs, the skill guys of the Chiefs. I know their defense will still be pretty good with Spags, and they'll still be in the mix. I definitely think they'll be in the mix. But if I had to pick one of the two teams who has a better chance of being there next year, I think it's going to be the Eagles, because they have a better roster. And in the NFL nowadays, it's much easier to get back to the Super Bowl after you win it than after you lose it.
No, I totally agree with you, because you look at the Niners this year. I know there was just a ton of injuries, but maybe that's part of it. You played in February.
Look, 49ers are a great example. The Eagles last year are definitely an example. The 49ers, after they lost their first Super Bowl, that's an example. And really 2 or 3 Patriots. The Patriots, 2 of those 3 years, they lost. They didn't get back to the Super Bowl. I know you could argue Brady was out in 08, so they might have, but still they didn't even make the playoffs that year. So I definitely think it's just looking at the Eagle roster. I think it's definitely them.
Yeah, definitely. Because I'm with you too. Because Kansas City won 17 straight they're on the streak of 17 straight 1-score games. That's got to come back to the mean at some point. Like that, just maybe next year they only go 1-8. 1-score games. Maybe not 1-8, but you know what I'm saying.
So maybe 4-4 in those games.
Yeah,
and they go maybe like they're 12-5 or 11-6 instead of 15-2.
Yeah. Maybe finally next year, Josh Allen or maybe Drake May.
Oh, come on! Let's not go that far. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and maybe I could extend it to C.J. Stroud. That's reasonable. Drake May right now, that's a little bit unreasonable. But I know you never know because of what the Commanders did, but come on now, that's going a little bit too far. I would just be happy with making the playoffs on the Patriots.
Yeah, I'm getting my hopes up right now. I'm getting my hopes up with the Patriots next year. But yeah, I could see the Eagles too, because I think in the NFC too, the Lions are probably taking a step back. Goff's getting another year older. You got 2 new coordinators. The Niners kind of look like that team's going to break apart now. I know you got Rams team that's aging. I know you still got Sean McVay there.
Stafford thing definitely makes you worry. Commanders, they're good, but I don't think they're at the Eagles. They're at the Eagles level. The team that I think is going to be their biggest threat is still going to be the Lions.
Yeah, and again, they lose 2 coordinators. Goff's getting a year older. Yep. But yeah, like I think I know we mentioned all those teams that haven't been able to get over the hump against Mahomes, but maybe next year's their year. Maybe they get them at home and they finally, I think it's going to be a tougher road for KC than it would be right now for the Eagles. So I'm with you. I think the Eagles have a better chance, and all those 2 of getting back there after losing 2 of those examples as well. So it's tough to do, and I think the Eagles get back there again.
Yeah, I think the Eagles. I hate to say it, but I think the Eagles have a better chance of getting back there than the Chiefs. But the Red Sox, for the first time in a long time, have finally spent some money. But before we talk about that, we are going to hear from our friends at JPEG Financial and Shamrock Home Inspections.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? How often are you thinking about it? The team at JPEX Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies in the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident in your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website and give us a call at 860-430-5397. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. JPEX Financial Group, LLC is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. JPEX Financial Group is located at 78 Eastern Boulevard, Glastonbury, Connecticut.
There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com.
Alrighty, so you know Chaim Bloom is not with the Red Sox now because they did something they never did when he was there. They finally went out, finally spent money yesterday. They signed Alex Bregman to a 3-year, $120 million deal, and I like the move. I really do. I really like this move. I think he adds to a lineup with Devers, with Duran, with Rafaela, with Cassius. I like this move a lot. He's going to play second base. I like it. Let me tell you, I think the Red Sox are. This is the best I've felt about the Red Sox since probably 2021. It really has. And Craig Breslow has done a really good job putting this team together. Trading for Garrett Crochet at the top of the rotation. You sign Walker Buehler. You sign Aroldis Chapman. You bring in Alex Bregman. This has been a really, really good offseason for the Red Sox. They've had a really good offseason. And the big question is do you think they're going to be a playoff team? And are they a World Series contender? And I'm going to say, yeah. Now, they might finish in third in the division. They might, but I think they're going to get to 86, 87 wins. And that's enough to make 16th last American League. And they got a really good manager in Alex Cora. I think there's a lot of optimism going into this Reds. I hate say it as a Yankee fan, but there's some definitely optimism for Reds going into this season with the moves they have made. So I think they are I think they're going to be a playoff team. I know in the American League, there's a lot of teams that are close to them, like the Royals, like the Tigers, like the Guardians, the Orioles. There are teams they're close to them, but I do think they sneak in this year. And I do think, and you could say, if they sneak in as a 6 seed, they're not a World Series contender. If you get in the tournament in baseball, anything could happen. I think they are. I think they're a playoff team, and they are a World Series contender. I give Craig Breslow a lot of credit for what he's done this offseason.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's yes and yes because, in the American League right now, it's very wide open. You would say the Yankees probably have.
The Yankees are the best.
The
Yankees are the best team. You're not going to convince me any otherwise. The Yankees are the best.
Yeah, because the O's did nothing, and their rotation's not.
Yeah, they made small moves. They signed that Japanese guy, not the good Japanese, not the top Japanese guy, because we all know where the top Japanese guy went to that team, west of us in LA. But yeah, I mean, and then they got Tommy O'Neill. But I really like what the Red Sox did. They had a much better offseason than the Orioles. I think right now the Orioles are closer to the Red Sox than they are to the Yankees. Because to me, the Yankees are clearly the best team in the American League with the additions they made. Going out. I know they lost Soto, but going out and getting Devin Williams, going out and
Max Fried,
trading Max Fried, Cody Bellinger, and then even Goldie. The Yankees to me are the best team in the American League. You're not going to convince me any otherwise. But I think the Red Sox have done a really good job this offseason. I think they put themselves in position to get to the playoffs and compete for a championship.
Yeah, they have, and the American League's wide open this year. Put some spice back too, I think, in this rivalry. Bregman, the Yankees have that history. Chapman, the way it ended with the Yankees.
Absolutely. It's gonna be fun. I think this rivalry, it's gonna be fun this year between these two teams. I think it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be back to what it was, in 2021 or what it was in 2017, 2018, and then obviously back to what it was, in the 2000s. I think it's gonna be fun. I think the rivalry is gonna be fun this year.
Yeah, so hopefully, because it's kind of been dead the last couple of years, and the Red Sox they got talent, and I like Bregman moving over. Sounds like he's going to second. I think at some point he's probably going to move to third, because I know in the offseason the Red Sox did offer the Mariners Tristan Casas for two of the young starting pitchers. The Mariners declined, so I think at some point they're probably going to trade Casas and slide Devers to first and Bregman over to third. So yeah, I like the Red Sox lineup. They got a lot of young guys in there, and if the pitching can stay healthy, Crochet, Giolito coming off the Tommy John, he had some arm, elbow, something like that last year. He missed a lot of time with. So the rotation got some promise that they could stay healthy. So and Alex Cora's a great manager. So yeah, things are the Red Sox should be better, and they should be back in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, and definitely are, and and don't forget they have Tanner Houck had a really good year last year. Carter Crawford was decent as well, so good rotation. I think a good lineup. This is a good lineup. I think this lineup's going to be good. The question mark is going to be the bullpen. The bullpen's going to be the question, and they can improve that at the trade deadline. But the question mark is going to be the bullpen because Aroldis Chapman hasn't closed consistently since he's been with the Yankees. So, and then Kenley Jansen went to the Angels. So the question is definitely going to be the bullpen.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be the big one. And yeah, that's one of the easier things to fix, especially at the trade deadline. So they could easily flip somebody and improve that in June or July. Because yeah, you really can't trust Chapman. I know they got Liam Hendricks back late last year. Or no, he was supposed to pitch, and I think he got, he had a couple setbacks, I believe it was. So they might have him as well. But yeah, there's a lot of inexperience in the back end of that. You do have Whitlock that could eat some innings for you. So yeah, Bernardino was okay last year. So yeah, the bullpen definitely the big question mark. But yeah, that could easily be fixed in June or July.
Oh, it definitely could be. It definitely could be. And yeah, this is something the Red Sox haven't done. I think this is the best free agent the Red Sox have signed since they signed David Price in 2016, and that's a long time ago. And it just shows you that I don't even think ownership doesn't. We know ownership hasn't really cared there for a while. I think it was Alex Cora. I think Alex Cora really wants him spending money. Or I know he signed a contract extension, but if they consistently are missing the playoffs like this, Alex Cora is going to go somewhere else. So I think Alex Cora kind of pushed for this to happen.
Yeah, because when he got the extension, I was kind of surprised by it because the Red Sox hadn't, because he would have been a free agent. The Red Sox haven't shown a commitment to winning the last couple years, and yeah, Core definitely could have gone somewhere else. And yeah, I think a big part of Core staying there was he wanted to buy-in from ownership that they're going to start spending again. And yeah, they have with Bregman. I know they signed Story, but he's been hurt pretty much the last.
Hurt pretty much the entire time he's been there.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, when he's healthy, he's a really nice player at shortstop, good defender, and the middle of that infield's gonna be really good with Bregman and Story. But yeah, it's tough to rely on him to stay healthy. So yeah, it's been one of the big. I would agree, it's probably the biggest one since they signed David Price.
Oh, yeah, definitely, and it shows you why you get rid of Chaim Bloom. And I pushed for that for years to get rid of Chaim Bloom, because when you're in a market like Boston, you can't run it like Tampa. You got to run it like a big market team. You got to sign players, and Breslow didn't really do that last year, but he definitely did it this year.
Yeah, he did, and Chaim deserves some credit for the way that I know you're probably gonna push back on me, the way that the farm system I think they have the number farm system in the league right now, and they gave up a big chunk for Crochet, but I know they're hiring Christian Campbell, who's a middle infielder, I believe, who might get some time at some point this year. They're really high on. So, look, I know the prospects are very hit and miss at times, but Heim did a good job with fixing that, because Dombrowski, pretty much destroyed it. But they won a World Series. So I don't think they care.
Yeah. Dombrowski won 2 World Series. So yeah, I think he can run circles around Chaim Bloom. I'm sorry about the farm system. We're not in Tampa here. This is a big market team. And he also traded Mookie Betts when he was there. I know maybe ownership did that.
I think that was ownership.
Ownership or him, who knows? But he also, let Xander Bogaerts walk. Also let JD Martinez walk. Also so we also let good players walk. I think you let Nathan Eovaldi. Well, you let Nathan Eovaldi walk too. So yeah, this has definitely been better since he's been gone. I think last year proved that. All right, if we improve this last year, I think which was kind of a bridge year for the Red Sox. But this year, this is a year where they should be contending. They should be playing meaningful baseball. I think up until late September they should be, or it's disappointing. So, but with the roster they put together, I think they will be.
No, I agree. They should be. They should be, especially the American League East. Toronto's not going to bottom out. Tampa, is probably going to be right around 500. So it's going to be a tough league, but it helps you only play those teams 11, 12 times now. So yeah, it's a team that should be back in the wild card. They should be good. They should be like a high 81 team or so, and that's going to give you a wild card. And yeah, in the American League and baseball, that's going to give you a shot, because it is so wide open this year, and especially in the American League, that wouldn't shock me if there's 7. I think there could be like 6, 17 maybe that could win it. Like it's totally wide open this year. So yeah, the Red Sox are definitely in better shape than they have in the last couple of years.
Yeah, they definitely are. They are in really, really good shape. Now we're going to transition to the NBA, the All-Star break this weekend in San Francisco. And we'll do 4 things. We'll talk about our most surprising team, our most disappointing team, our MVP right now, and our finals matchup. And first, we'll do our most surprising team. And for me, this was a tough pick between the Nuggets and the Clippers, but I'm going to go with the Clippers. I like the way Norman Powell's play. I know. No. It was surprising me. It was between the Pistons and the Clippers. Even though the Pistons have, I think, a little bit more upside eventually because they have a bona fide star in Cade Cunningham. I'm going to go with the Clippers being 30-23, having the 6th seed in the Western Conference. Tyrone Lue has done a real. I was a critic of Tyrone Lue. Just I think I was a critic of Snow when LeBron was there, but Tyrone Lue's done a really good job. I mean, Powell's had a really good year. James Harden was best year, but he's played well. He's played well. You did not expect the Clippers to be the 6th seed, and with them being 3rd and 23, for me, that is my most surprising team.
Yeah. For me, I went with the Pistons. The team that already, the Clippers have had a really nice year, but the Pistons have already doubled their win total from last year. JT Bickerstaff's done a really nice job with the team this year, and I know the East is bad, but they're the team that only win. They had a 28-game losing streak just a year ago, and now they're in the playoff picture in the Eastern Conference, and I love the way they play. Like it's the old Pistons of just tough, gritty defense. They're gonna win ugly basketball games. So they're fun to watch. They're really good defensively. So Cade Cunningham's had a really nice year. So I almost went to Clippers as well, but I thought the Pistons. I didn't really think that they'd be even a team this year that would even be in the playoff picture. So I think JP Bickerstaff and Staff's doing a nice job.
One thing about the Pistons too is Cade Cunningham's turning. I mean, he's turned into a top 25 player in this league. I mean, the way he's able to assist, the way he's able to shoot the threes. I criticized him last year for losing 28 in a row, being the best player on a team that lost 28 in a row. He's had a really good year this year.
Yeah, he has, and I don't know if Monty really cared last year. Guy was making what? He got like a $78 million contract, and I think Cade Cunningham's had a really awesome year, and he's definitely kind of turned into the guy maybe we thought we saw coming out of Oklahoma State. So yeah, he's been phenomenal. They're a fun team to watch. We'll see if they can continue to climb up there in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, we'll definitely see about that. Now to our most disappointing team, and we're gonna stay in the Eastern Conference. For me, I'm gonna go with the Sixers. I know they're the Suns are not. It was close for me between them and the Suns. It was between them and the Suns. I'm gonna go with the Sixers, 20-34. And listen, I get there's been injuries, but Maxey and Paul George have played enough. They should be better than 20-34. I mean, the whole thing's a mess there. Embiid just can't stay healthy at all. And I've always thought he was overrated. I don't want an MVP, but I've always thought Joel Embiid is overrated. And this is why you're taking 10 players over Embiid any day of the week. This season showing you why can't stay healthy, and it's just leadership is just questionable. Embiid is overrated, and I like Maxey. Paul George, I think, is best behind him. I like Maxey, but we did not think this. No one thought the Sixers would be 20-34 at this point, even with the injuries they had. So for me, the Sixers are the most disappointing team.
Yeah, I'm with you too. The Sixers. They've been brutal this year, and yeah, you mentioned the Embiid. He can't even play back-to-backs right now, and who knows if that his knees are cooked, unfortunately for him. It seems like at the moment. So, and Paul George signing hasn't been great. Like he really hasn't played unbelievable. I know he still averaged 16 points a game, and he's still shooting like 35% from three, but it hasn't been as good as it's kind of been a little bit of disappointing signing for him so far. And Maxey's still playing really well, but like for this team with the injuries, I know for them to like be behind the Bulls still is pretty disappointing. Like it's a horrible Eastern Conference, and for them not even
to been tearing their team apart.
Yeah. You can't even get in front of them. It's bad, and you're tied with the Nets, who aren't. The Nets. They hit a home run, and Fernandez is the head coach. He's I loved him in Sacramento, but as the assistant. So for them to be out of the play-in right now, it's absolutely just it should be embarrassment to that Philly to the Sixers front office. And again, I hate the tanking stuff. So the trust the process thing. I'm glad that this is kind of karma for this, because that
absolutely.
was ridiculous what they tried to do for so many years.
Trust the process. What a joke that was. Trust the process. They haven't even gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals yet.
No.
Trae Young has been to the Eastern Hawks have been to the Eastern Conference
Yeah.
Finals before they have. So yeah, it's just been a major disappointment. Affiliates two extremes. You got the Eagles and you got the Sixers. They are at two different extremes right now. And but we will go to our MVP, who we think our MVP should be at this point in the year. And Jokic is having such a great year, but I just think it's going to be. I think it should be Jokic because he's just been absolutely phenomenal. And he's clearly the best player in the game. But I think it's going to go to SGA because he's been great too. SGA's been great too. He's proved why he's a top 5 player in the league this year with his assists, with his three-point shooting gotten better, with the scoring. I think it's going to be SGA. I mean, I think Gilgeous-Alexander is going to be right now. He's my MVP.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got Gilgeous-Alexander as well. For a team right now that's 44, 44-9, they're already 8.5 up on second place. Like, they pretty much already have the Western Conference clinched up at this point. He's been knocking at that MVP door for the last couple of years, and I think this is the year they finally give it to him. Yeah, Jokic is still probably the best player in the sport, but it's not on. I know defense probably is not a huge thing, but like Denver's defense is so bad. I don't know if that might go against them too. And say Gilgeous-Alexander is one of the best guards, especially defensively as well. I think he's third right now in the league in steals per game, just under 2. So I got to say Gilgeous-Alexander won the MVP. The best team right now in the sport, and the way they're playing. I think they had 3. They just played the Grizzlies recently. Coming off 3 games in 4 nights, and the Grizzlies had like 3 or 4 days off. And they beat them by 13, and it was nothing. Like, the Grizzlies really didn't have much of a chance in that game. So the Thunder team, that's such an impressive team. So I think he finally gets it this year.
Yeah, and they're 44-9. They've done a lot of it without Chet Holmgren too. So you got to remember that. So yeah, so I think that's what he hasn't his second best player. He hasn't have his second or third best player with him. So I think that's why Holmgren is the MVP. And now finals matchup right now. Finals matchup. It was tough for me between OKC, Boston, or Denver, Boston. Because the West, I think, is gonna you get one of 4 teams in the West. I think you have OKC. OKC and Denver, I think, are the 2 favorites. Then the 2 teams that the second tier, I would say, are Memphis. I think Memphis is with Ja back is really good. And the other one's the Lakers because of their star power with Luka and LeBron, even though they don't really have a big because they were sending that Mark Williams trade. So to me, I'm going to go with the best player against the best team. Because in the East, let's be real, no one's as good as Boston. I know Cleveland's 5.5 games better. Boston's handled them this year. We know the Knicks Celtic matchups have been total mismatches. The Bucks, they got 2 top players, but outside of that, it's going to be hard for them to compete with Boston. And we saw Indiana Boston. We saw that movie last year in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I think Boston's still clearly the best team in the East. I think Boston gets there in the East, and then I'm going to go with the best player in Jokic in Denver. I'm going to go Nuggets over Celtics. I think Jokic right now is flat out unstoppable. You can't stop him. He already has a ring. Be a great finals matchup. Nuggets Celtics would be a great finals matchup. I thought at a point last year we'd get that. We didn't because the Nuggets got upset by the T-Wolves, but I'm going Nuggets Celtics. Best player in Jokic, best team in the Celtics to defend, with them being the defending champions. I got Nuggets over Celtics in the NBA Finals.
I got Thunder over Celtics. This was my matchup before the season. I really like, I get with the Nuggets. I worry about their defense, and I don't know if they have enough off the depth. I know Jokic is unbelievable. That's my one concern with Denver. They get into a couple 6-7 game series, but I love this way this OKC team's playing defensively. They can knock down shots. They're really deep, and I think Boston's gonna figure. I think we can both agree Boston just doesn't care about the regular season. You just see it at times. Like, they really don't. They know they're gonna be in. They know they're probably gonna be the 2 seed. They'll probably run through the Eastern Conference. It'd be great to see your Knicks get in because I really love seeing them play. I'd love to see them make a finals run, but I think they're overwhelming talent. So I hate to kind of go chalky here, but I think this is finally the year for the Thunder to go over to the top here and get to the finals and win it.
Outside of the Nuggets, I see them doing it. I mean, I'm just going to go with the Nuggets because they have a little bit more experience, but I think it's going to be them and the Thunder in the conference finals, and that's going to be an outstanding conference final between those 2. That's going to be a great conference final between those two. But I just think the Nuggets have a little bit more experience, but I definitely could see it being Celtics Thunder. I definitely could see that. I could definitely see that in the NBA Finals. So it should be an interesting not second half of the season, but it should be interesting to see what happens after the All-Star break in the NBA. But we got to wrap up with some UConn basketball. And you look at their week. St. John's loss was disappointing. They had the 14-point lead. They gave it up. They lost 68-62. McNeely returned, struggled early, was better in the second half. And we kind of thought it looked like in that first half they were going to lose 2 in a row and it was going to be another loss at Creighton. But Liam McNeely showed you why he is the best player on this team, and he was phenomenal. He was phenomenal in the second half of that game. UConn gets the win. And the big question is now with UConn. Right now, they got 4 losses in the Big East. They're 17-7. I think what is it, 9 in the Big East? Is it 9-4?
Yeah.
9-4 in the Big East, 17-7 overall. And look at the schedule moving forward. They got Seton Hall, Villanova at home. You go to the Garden, play St. John's, even though it's kind of a home game with the way UConn fans travel to the Garden. You got Georgetown at home. You got Marquette at home, and then you wrap up with Seton Hall, and then you have a trip to Providence as well. Looking at the schedule, it's very favorable. Outside of the Marquette game at home and the St. John's game, it's a very favorable. The last 7 games are very favorable. There's a very good chance they'll finish 5-2. Did this win Tuesday turn around this season? Is this the turning point of this season where they end up, finishing in second place in the Big East and getting, a 5 or 6 seed in the NCAA tournament? Is this kind of the turning point of this season?
To be completely honest with you, I actually don't know. Like, it's just such a Jekyll and Hyde team and they're so banged up too. Like, Ball's dealing with the wristing on his off-ball hand now. There's not shooting hand. Duara too. It sounds like he has tendonitis in his knees, or one of his knees. He's not going to get any better. Like, I know he only played 7 minutes. Like, it's not going to get better, unfortunately for him. Ahmad Newell just got back healthy, but I know he didn't even play Tuesday night. McNeely finally looks he got the rust off, so like maybe McNeely can go on a Shabazz Napier type run. Maybe he could. I think he's definitely good enough to do it. But again, they could. I think they go 6-1 here on out, and then maybe that gets you the 5-6 line. I think. And again, the country, it's very wide open. So
yeah, we saw Auburn on Saturday. Auburn is not what UConn was last year by any means.
No, they're not. They're not. They're a very good team. They're very veteran. I think they have 8 seniors. But no, they don't have 2 lottery picks on that team. They have Broom, who's probably a first rounder. That's it. They don't have another draft upside guy. And Duke's good. I don't think the coach could hold them back with all the talent they have. So it's wide open. I could definitely see it, but they're banged up and they need Alex Caravan. Again, the kid hasn't forgotten how to shoot. And I think the thing is, too, he's not missing the right or left of the hoop. It's like he's a foot off or not, or, he's just missing. It's just, half those, it felt like we're halfway down the other night. So he hasn't forgotten how to shoot. He still did some little things very well. And he defended Kalkbrenner very good. And that guy's just big. I can't wait to beat Kalkbrenner in this conference. Dude gets breathed on. It's a foul, but okay. He did a really good job defensively. I can't stand Hurley blitzing his centers 30 feet away from the hoop and trying to double, and then the switching down low. And Kalkbrenner got some easy looks down low, but it's possible. I really can't tell with this team, but if they're healthy, there's a chance.
Yeah, you said it. There is a chance. I think the issue with this team, you say they're number one, they're very Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, they lose 2 games at Gamble to contending teams, to Creighton and St. John's, and they never do that. But they go on the road in tough places to play. They won at Marquette. That's a tough place to play. And then they won an even tougher place to play against a team that hadn't won 8 or 9. Was it 9? Was it 8 in a row? They won. They won 9. They won 10 in a row. They went to a place that won the team. They went into a place where they would never have won. They won 10 in a row against a team that won 10 in a row, and they won that game. So again, it's a very Jekyll and Hyde team. But I think what ultimately is going to be the biggest issue with this team what's going to be the biggest Achilles heel is they don't have a point guard. Let's be honest. DR is banged up, and he hasn't played that well, and they don't have an inside game. they shoot the three well. You know, but they're gonna live and die by the three. This team with Caravan, with Ball, and with McNeely, they're gonna live and die by the three. If they're not hitting threes, this team is gonna have a very, very hard time beating good teams. That's the reason why they beat Creighton and Marquette. But if they're not hitting threes, this team's gonna have a very hard time of winning. And in college basketball, I feel like you just can't. I know it's important, but you can't rely on that all the time. So I think two things: very Jekyll and Hyde. Three things: very Jekyll and Hyde, live and die by the three, and don't have a post game. So that's why I think this team. I think they're good, and I think this turns the season around. But I don't think they get to the Final Four. I think they might get to the second weekend, but they don't get to the final. I don't think they get to the Final Four.
No, I agree. I think it's be very tough for this team to get to the Final Four. Yeah, the 3-point shooting's huge. The defense is getting better. I think now they're in the top 100 now in KenPom in defensive efficiency, which is good. They're making strides there. And I think the broadcast mentioned this too on Tuesday night. Creighton was playing their fourth game in 10 days, and you could kind of see they were tired. They went to Marquette. They looked tired. I don't know, now St. John's, I think, is just a bad matchup for them. The way of how physical they are, they don't have like that Castle or even Tristan Newman, who's 6'6", who are bigger physical guards, because Aiden Mahaney, that was just a bad matchup for them Friday night. So I don't know, because last year when they were Creighton, it was their fifth game in 14 days, and they got blown out last year at Creighton. And I think Hurley was like, we're just kind of exhausted right now. Like, it was just, we were due for kind of this game. I don't know if this was kind of Creighton's just, we'll find out Sunday. They go St. John's, but that's something too I've kind of started thinking about. But 3-point shooting to be huge. The post play, because Terrence Reed's kind of been very up and down. You can see they haven't fully gotten all the Michigan out of him yet. With the coaching he had to go through there, you can see they're still figuring that out. So, and Samson Johnson is just so prone to fouls. And he's very consistent. So, yeah, it's gonna be tough. And in March, you never know what happens. And but yeah, I could see this team being the second weekend. It's gonna be tough. I think we're gonna get a weird Final Four. I think it's very possible, but again, it's in Providence. I don't think you're gonna get Providence now. Maybe you get the East Region, you play Newark, but Duke's probably gonna be there. So you're gonna have a good contingent of Duke fans as well there, but it's possible.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. We'll see what ends up happening with UConn. This week should be they obviously should win on Saturday. You got Villanova on Tuesday. We'll be reacting to that next week. So we'll see what happens there, and we'll see what happens there with UConn. Should be interesting to see where they go from here. But that's going to wrap it up this week on Sports Talk with R&J. For Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We'll be back next week, pretty much recapping that UConn-Villanova game and talking more UConn basketball. And we'll also be talking about any NFL or NBA news that comes our way. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Meat, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.